Welcome to the Music Nut Program. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining me today. As we continue, it's Thin Lizzy Thursday with Thin Lizzy's third album, Vagabonds of the Western World. This came out on September 21, 1973, and this would be the last album to feature Eric Bell on lead guitar. At this point, Thin Lizzy were still trying to find her sound, but this album, I believe, is a quantum leap forward in both Phil Lynnett's songwriting and Eric Bell's guitar playing. This was released on Decca Records. This was the first one to feature artwork by Jim Fitzpatrick. It would also be their second album that was produced by Nick Tauber. Nick Tauber produced Shades of a Blue Orphanage as well. However, I think that the recording on this is much stronger. There's much more clarity and space between the instruments. And Phil's vocals are a lot more up in the mix on here, where a lot of times they were buried on Shades of a Blue Orphanage. Nick Tauber's other production credits include albums by Toya, Stiff Little Fingers, Bernie Torme, Marillion, UFO, Girls School, and Venom. So, with Vagabonds of the Western World, we have Phil Lynott on bass guitar and lead vocals. We have Eric Bell on guitars and vocals. We have Brian Downey on drums and percussion. Interestingly, we have no acoustic guitars on here. There is very few folk leanings. We have Jan Shellhaus on organ, best known for playing in the band Caravan. We have Kid Jensen credited here as voice. He is the voice on The Hero and the Madman. I will go into that later. And we have a string section on a song for While I'm Away, which is the last track on this album. String section R, the arrangement was done by Fiacre Trench. Violins are Peter Oxler, Godfrey Salmon, Alan Sloan, Alan Merrick, Peter Poole, and Ian McKinnon. Violas are done by Don Vey and Tony Harris. Cello by Quentin William, and Cor Anglais oboe from Paul Mosby. So with this album, Thin Lizzy's really starting to come into their own as musicians and Phil as a songwriter. Let's get to the tracks. Mama Nature Said. Beginning, we have this ringing slide guitar from Eric. When you hear this, if you're really into Irish rock music, you're thinking, this sounds a lot like Rory Gallagher. And I say that as a compliment because Rory Gallagher, fantastic musician, blues guitar player, wonderful vocalist as well, particularly on the softer tunes. And I'm a big fan of his music. Anyway, we have this shuffle feel that comes in. Phil's playing a lot of variations on a traditional bass line. This is more of a blues rock song, as much of Rory Gallagher's work would be as well. We got a nice key change here before Eric does his guitar solo. Brian's throwing in some nice fills on here as he does throughout the album. This is a good opener. Now, The Hero and the Madman, this is a bit of a divisive song for a lot of Thin Lizzy fans because it's very different because you have Kid Jensen, who's best known for being a DJ for the BBC, putting in his spoken word passages on the first two verses, and Phil is complimenting him with the vocal. We got a very fictional lyric here, penned by Phil. This is bordering on funk. We got some nice wah-wah work here from Eric now, and he's not using this wah-wah like he's in love with his wah-wah pedal like he did on the first album. Here, it fits really well within the song. This is a really cool tune. Has a nice R&B slash funk rock feel on here. Not as much like Jimi Hendrix as before. Cool tune. Slow Blues. We have a blues song which starts out with timpani drums. I don't know if I'll ever hear that again. but it's only slow at the beginning and at the end. And then after that, it's not really a blues song as much as it is like a hard R&B. Phil's vocal on here, very passionate, whether it's on the beginning where he's singing over that ringing guitar line from Eric or just in the verses themselves. Really cool tune. Not one of the best songs on the album, but it definitely fits in. And then we get the rocker. And the rocker has been called the first great Thin Lizzy song penned by Phil Lynott. It's actually penned by the band. And this is one of the definitive Thin Lizzy songs. This is Phil Lynnott's personality in full bloom. We got very cutting, biting, in your face lyrics on here. The bridge on this is really, really cool. Busy bass line below that guitar solo from Eric. Eric's guitar solo on here is excellent. This is, in my opinion, the best guitar solo he ever did with Thin Lizzy. Wonderful track. Brian's throwing in all kinds of fills. This is just a excellent rock and roll song with a great stop-start rhythm and Phil charisma out the wazoo. Fantastic. We go into the title track, Vagabonds of the Western World. We got that wordless lyric at the beginning. Song builds in momentum. It's a nice storyteller lyric here from Phil. Chorus is a killer on here. It's like call and response between the vocal and that slashing guitar from Eric. This is really cool. They also combine the beginning and the chorus at the end, which is a nice real effect on there. Little Girl in Bloom. Pretty guitar, pretty ballad, I should say. The guitar lines on here are very pretty also. We got a very expressive solo from Eric, a wonderful vocal from Phil. This chorus feels like something you'd hear on AM radio in the 1970s when we had so many of those great pop songs back then. Nice song about a woman growing up. It's just beautiful song penned by Phil here. Gonna creep up on you now. That's very slinky, very sultry. That bass line it opens it is a killer. What a sensual lyric, complemented by that wonderful groove laid down by Phil and Brian. Good, solid track on here. I wouldn't say this is one of the best songs on here, but it's got a great feel to it. Song really complements the album very well. A song for While I'm Away. This is the tearjerker sentimental closer. Just really cool. We got some nice bass lines on here. The string section I refer to, they do a fantastic job on this one. When I listen to this song, it sounds like a prelude to Didn't I from Chinatown. And this has that same feel. And it's a nice way to end the album. Now, on here, we have a few bonus tracks. Now, last year, 2023, there was a deluxe edition put out on this album, 47 tracks. I don't know that. I don't know that bad boy. But I do have this 12 song version. We also have full length versions on here of Whiskey in a Jar and Black Boys on the Corner, which we had on Shades of a Blue Orphanage. So I'm not going to really go into them because I already reviewed them on the show for Shades. But we also have the single of Randolph's Tango, very mid-tempo track. We got a ooh la la hook on here, nice chorus, nice use of the wah-wah guitar in here. And here we got some acoustic guitars, which we don't have on the proper Vagabonds album. It's a cool track. The B-side is Broken Dreams. This is okay. It's a slower track, more blues rock. Phil's vocal on here is really desperate, very emotional, passionate. And we got a nice, tasteful solo from Eric on here as well. So to me, Yes, the quantum leap forward for Thin Lizzy is Vagabonds of the Western World. We don't have the twin lead guitars from Brian Robertson and Scott Gorham on here, but you really hear the band finding their sound, getting into a great place. I think this is a very strong album, and I would say from this point right through 1979, which would give us Black Rose, a rock legend, we have a very strong catalog of great rock music from this point. And of course, we have the wonderful double live album, Live and Dangerous from 1978 as well. Just to give you some programming notes, Wednesday, October 16, we had the 7th episode of the Accept Up to the Limit series on my friend John Clauser's channel, My Music Corner. John and I are joined on this edition by Nick Esquire as we discuss Accept's 7th album, Russian Roulette from 1986. Its Smithereens Saturday will end on Saturday, October 19, when I go over their live album, Thin Lizzy, Greatest Hits and More, excuse me. And I will also give my ranking of my least favorite to favorite albums by the Smithereens. This has been a wonderful series to do on the Smithereens. I'm very proud of this series, very happy to talk about a band that I love that doesn't get enough love. Join me next week on It's Thin Lizzy Thursday when I go over another album that I love to death, Nightlife from 1974, which would be the first album to feature Brian Robertson and Scott Gorham. So, until I see you again, do what you love, and I'll talk to you soon.